The alien fleet hung over Earth like a shadow that swallowed the stars. Hundreds of warships, their black holes gleaming in the cold light of space, formed a wall no human ship could break. Every news channel, every screen, every device on the planet showed the same thing: the Galactic Tribunal's emblem and a countdown, clock set to 10 minutes. The voice of the alien judge was calm, almost kind as it filled the airwaves. Humanity, you have been found guilty of destabilizing the galaxy. You have resisted our laws, destroyed our envoys, and refused integration. Your species will be erased. You have 10 minutes to make peace with your end. Across Earth, the world seemed to stop breathing. In the streets, people stared at giant screens with empty faces. In homes, families clung to each other, the glow of the countdown reflecting in their eyes. On the oceans, ships drifted silent. In orbit, human satellites recorded every movement of the alien fleet, but inside a sealed chamber deep under the Rocky Mountains, the mood was different. Rows of officers sat at consoles, their eyes focused and steady. In the center, Commander Elias Kane leaned over a holographic table, his voice low. "Signal Omega Black," he said. No emotion, no hesitation. 1. Officer hesitated. "Sir, that's never been do it." Kane cut in. "Now." Far above, in the heart of the alien flagship, sensors picked up a faint burst of encrypted radio noise from Earth. It lasted less than a second. Alien technicians dismissed it as static. The humans weren't even capable of bypassing their cum. Jamming back on Earth, the countdown hit 847 in the deep Atlantic. Far below the ocean floor, a massive shape stirred. It was older than any human nation, older than humanity itself. Power flowed through systems that had been dark for millennia. The water around it churned as heat rippled outward. In the Pacific, under another layer of seabed, another construct awoke. This one had no name in any language. Its hull was black as night, its surface covered in markings not made by human hands. "Status?" Kane asked. "Deep assets are coming online," a woman at the console reported. "All systems reading green." On the alien flagship, Admiral Rosen stood at the viewing window, arms behind his back. His species had crushed dozens of rebellious worlds. They had fought against the machines of Zeth, burned the forests of Kyril Prime, broken the fleets of the Xeron Union. Humanity was no different, maul, reckless, and doomed. "Begin targeting." "Sequence," he ordered. The alien ships aligned their massive cannons toward Earth. The Tribunal's voice came again. It's almost polite. 3 minutes remain. But in orbit, strange shadows moved. Shapes the size of cities flickered into view warships that hadn't been there seconds ago. They did not match any known human design. Their surfaces shimmered with patterns like moving stars. Alien bridge officers shouted in confusion. "Known contacts. They bypassed our perimeter." Admiral Rosen frowned. "Impossible. No ship could." The first blast hit. It wasn't light. It wasn't fire. It was absence. A beam of nothingness that erased a section of his fleet in silence. Ships vanished as if they had never been built. The gap in the formation spread like a wound on Earth. People watching the countdown saw the alien formation twist and break. They didn't know what was happening. Then alien ships were disappearing one after another, inside the mountain bunker. Kane stood still, his hands behind his back. "Maintain control. Don't chase. Cut them apart piece by piece." "Sir." One officer said, "We have them in full retreat vector." Kane's lips curved into something close to a smile. "Not yet. Let them think they can run." In the alien fleet, chaos spread faster than orders. Ships collided as they tried to maneuver away from the invisible killing lines. Rosen roared commands, but the enemy was everywhere and nowhere. On one alien cruiser, Captain screamed into his cums, "What are those ships?" The reply was a whisper, trembling with terror. "They are not human." The countdown reached 042. In a single synchronized movement, the strange warships accelerated. passed through the alien fleet like blades through mist. In less than 30 seconds, the once proud wall of ships became debris scattered across the void. Admiral Rosen's last sight before his flagship was swallowed by darkness was the image of Earth, small and silent, with no sign of the monstrous fleet that had saved it. At 0 o'clock, the countdown vanished from every human screen. In its place, a short message appeared in simple white text. You were warned. On Earth, cheers erupted in the streets. People cried, hugged, screamed in disbelief. Some prayed. Some simply stood and stared at the sky, wondering what had really happened. But far away, in a deep, lightless ocean trench, one of the constructs settled back into stillness. Its weapons folded inward, its hull dimmed. And in the mountain bunker, Commander Kane turned away from the holotable. Stand down, he ordered. Back to sleep. Until next time. No one outside that room would ever know that the battle had not been won by humanity alone. And in the endless dark between stars, whispers began to spread through the alien empires about the day they tried to erase humanity, and the fleet that was gone 10 minutes later. The alien survivors drifted through space in shattered hulls, their comm channels flooded with static. They didn't dare speak of what they had seen. It wasn't just the loss, it was how they lost. No weapon they knew could erase a warship so completely. No fleet could appear out of nothing, strike with such precision, and vanish without a trace. It was as if the stars themselves had turned against them. Among them, only one captain, Liren Voss, sent a report back to the Empire. His words were broken, filled with interference. The message arrived hours later at the Imperial War Council, distorted and looping. The only clear part was 3 words: not human. Tech. The Council dismissed it as battlefield panic. But deep in their intelligence archives, old forbidden files began to be unlocked. Meanwhile, on Earth, the streets were alive with celebration. Fireworks lit the skies over New York, Rio, Tokyo, and Johannesburg. News anchors called it a miracle. Politicians claimed it was the result of classified defense systems. But in the command bunker, under the Rockies, no one was celebrating. Commander Kane stood alone in the briefing room, staring at an image on the wall, grainy sonar scan of something massive beneath the Atlantic floor. The lines and curves in. The image weren't human. They weren't even alien in the way most of the galaxy understood they were. Older Dr. Marin Holt, lead scientist on Project Abyss, entered quietly. It's fully active now, she said. We've confirmed. All 3 deep constructs are awake, and they're talking to each other. Kane didn't look away from the image. In what language? She hesitated. None that we know. The patterns are cosmic. Stellar positions, particle decay, constants, gravitational harmonics. Like they're using the universe itself as a code. Kane finally turned to her. And their origin? Marin shook her head, still unknown. But the oldest layer of sediment on the Atlantic construct is over 1 billion years old.
That thing
was here before life on Earth. Across the ocean, in a secure underwater facility, divers in pressure suits moved through corridors carved into the side of a black curved wall. Their helmet lights illuminated markings that seemed to shift when stared at too long. The wall hummed faintly like a distant storm under the surface. One diver paused, speaking through the comm. Control, I'm getting movement readings. Inside the structure? Static. Then, in the diver's ear, a voice he didn't recognize, calm, alien, and old. Return. Before he could respond, the hum became a pulse, and the lights of the facility flickered. In orbit, satellites picked up sudden thermal spikes in the oceans. Lines of heat stretched for hundreds of kilometers, converging toward deep trenches. The patterns looked deliberate, like veins carrying blood toward a heart. At the Galactic Science Directorate, far from Earth, a young alien analyst stared at the heat maps sent through stolen spy feeds. He didn't report them to his superiors. Instead, he accessed a restricted file marked precursor words so dangerous it was banned in most archives. The images inside matched what he was seeing from Earth. Massive constructs, sleeping beneath planetary crusts, always on life support. Levels of power always ignored by their host species until the day they were activated, and each time one woke, a galactic power fell. He leaned back in his chair, his skin pale. If these readings were correct, then Earth had not just defended itself. It had woken something that the galaxy had worked for millions of years to bury, and in the darkest trench of the Pacific, a black hull split open, revealing a glowing core that pulsed once, twice, and then went silent again as if listening. Commander Kane, watching from the bunker, muttered to himself, "They think this is over. They have no idea what's still down there." Far away, the alien survivors who had fled Earth's orbit spoke quietly among themselves. None of them dared use the word precursor, but every one of them remembered the terror of watching their fleet vanish, not to human weapons, but to something far older and far worse, and in the shadows of the deep. The constructs waited. The alien fleet had come expecting an easy victory. Hundreds of ships bristling with weapons surrounding Earth like a steel cage. The Tribunal's countdown had already begun 10 minutes until humanity was gone. But when the first strange ships appeared, nothing made sense anymore. They didn't arrive through jump gates. They didn't use warp signatures. One moment, the sky above Earth was clear. The next, there were shapes the size of cities drifting between alien formations. Their surfaces shimmered, as if they were made of moving stars. The alien sensors went wild. No readings matched anything in the known galactic database. On the alien flagship, Admiral Rosen snapped at his crew. "Identify those vessels." "Can't, Admiral," his officer replied, panic in his voice. "Their hulls are absorbing scans. Our weapons can't lock." At that moment, one of the strange ships moved, slowly, deliberately. Its front glowed, not bright, but dark, as if light itself was being pulled inward. "Open fire." Rosen roared. The alien cannons blazed. Energy bolts crossed the void, slamming into the star-skinned ship. The bolts vanished into its hull like stones into deep water. No explosion. No damage, no reaction. Then the first return shot came. It wasn't fire. It wasn't plasma. It was nothing. A narrow beam of pure absence tore through space, erasing a cruiser so completely that even its debris was gone. Where the ship had been, there was only emptiness. Every alien voice on the channels screamed at once. On Earth, news cameras zoomed in on the flashes in orbit. People saw alien ships disappearing in silence, one after another, as if some invisible hand was plucking them from existence. In the bunker, Commander Kane stood with arms folded. "Gauge pattern Alpha 3, keep them spread, no clustering." The strange ships moved with impossible grace, sliding through the alien fleet like blades through paper. They didn't rush. They didn't fire wildly. Every shot was precise, one beam, one kill. The countdown showed 7:5 for by now. Alien formations had broken apart. Ships tried to retreat, but the star-skinned vessels were already ahead of them, blocking escape routes. Alien commanders shouted conflicting orders: attack, flee, regroup. But the enemy moved faster than their thoughts. "Admiral, the flanks are collapsing." "Then form a spearhead and push through," Rosen snarled. They tried. 30 destroyers lined up, engines flaring, aiming for a gap. Before they reached it, 2 of the strange ships glided into position. A flash 1-2 and the destroyers were gone. The gap was gone. The countdown showed 5:19. Some alien crews shut down weapons and tried, broadcasting surrender signals. No one answered. The strange ships didn't stop. Rosen felt the cold truth in his bones. They weren't fighting an enemy. That wanted negotiation. This wasn't war. This was removal. On Earth, civilians didn't understand the scale of what they were seeing. In the streets, people pointed at the sky and shouted as streaks of light crossed overhead. They thought it was human technology. They thought their own fleets were fighting back. They didn't know the truth, that humanity's real fleet hadn't even left orbit. The countdown showed 2:02. Now, the alien fleet was less than a third of its original size. Wreckage floated. Silently, but most destroyed ships left no trace at all. In the bunker, Dr. Marin Holt whispered to Kane, "They're not just destroying ships, they're deleting them. No wreckage, no mass, no record." Kane didn't look at her. It's what they do. The countdown showed 0:57. All that remained of the alien force was the flagship and a handful of escorts, as the strange ships surrounded them in a perfect sphere. None of the alien guns were firing anymore. On the flagship bridge, Rosen gripped the railing. "Who are you?" he shouted into open space. "What are you?" No answer, come only a single beam. The escorts vanished. Then the flagship, the countdown showed 0:00. Every human screen went black for 2 seconds. Then, in white text, "You were warned." In orbit, nothing remained of the alien fleet. No debris, no survivors, no sound. Just the quiet curve of Earth below and a sky scattered with stars. They're stars that seemed for a moment to shimmer and move before fading away. In the bunker, Kane finally spoke. "Stand down. Deep assets to sleep cycle." And somewhere in the dark oceans of Earth, the constructs that had fought this war sank back into silence, as if they had never moved at all. The galaxy would call it the 10-minute war. But those who truly knew the story would never speak of it. The alien empire had sent a fleet to erase humanity. In 10 minutes, it was gone. No wreckage. Survivors, at least. None they could prove. The official record stated total loss of contact, but the truth was whispered in dark corridors. By those who had heard fragments of desperate comes before the silence, some claimed to have seen weapons that erased matter itself. Others swore entire ships had simply vanished mid-mover. But no one agreed on the most important question: what had been fighting them? In the Imperial War Council's great chamber, the atmosphere was tense. The chamber was a ring of polished, black stone, lit by the blue glow of the central star map. Around it, dozens of alien leaders sat, their faces tight with anger or fear. High Commander Terev slammed his clawed hand against the table. "We lost our most advanced fleet to primitive humans. And they didn't just survive, they humiliated us." Across from him, Minister Rellin's voice was cold. "You think humans did that? Then you weren't listening to the distress calls." Terev's eyes narrowed. "What are you suggesting?" Relin leaned forward. "I'm suggesting they had help. Something else was in that fight." A ripple of unease spread through the chamber. The word help wasn't the dangerous part. It was the unspoken thought that followed what kind of help could destroy a tribunal fleet in minutes. From the shadows of the chamber, an old intelligence director spoke. "I've heard that tone before. Centuries ago, when the Zath Empire vanished, we blamed a rebellion. We were wrong." Murmurs broke out. The Zath were a story every child in the Empire knew, an ancient, arrogant race that vanished overnight. No war, no plague, just gone. The director's voice lowered. "We have records. Not many. But what I've seen matches the reports from Earth." Terev scoffed. "I'm cute. You're talking about ghosts and legends?" "No," the director said. "I'm talking about precursors." The room fell silent. The word was forbidden in most council discussions. Precursors, supposedly extinct civilizations so old their technology might as well be magic. To admit they still existed was to admit the galaxy was not in control of itself. Meanwhile, far from the capital, in the Empire's outer systems, a lone corvette drifted into port.
Old Mama.
It carried the only known survivors of the Earth's Campina. Handful of engineers and one captain, Liren Voss. He refused all public interviews. In private debriefings, he gave the same answer every time. They weren't human ships. They didn't even move like ships. But when pressed to describe them, he would fall silent, eyes fixed on some point far away. On Earth, the reaction was the opposite. News anchors called the destruction of the alien fleet a great human victory. Government leaders issued proud speeches about human courage. No one spoke of the constructs in the deep, or the ships of shifting starlight that had appeared without warning in the Rocky Mountain bunker. Commander Kane was reviewing long-range scans when Dr. Marin Holt entered. They're still active. she said quietly. Kane didn't look up. For how long? Marin hesitated. Hard to say. They're listening. To everything. Planetary comes, satellite feeds, even deep space broadcasts. And every time the aliens talk about coming back, I see power spikes in the Atlantic construct. Kane finally turned to face her. Good. Let them talk. Let them think they can try again. Far away, in the War Council chamber, factions formed. One side wanted to send another fleet immediately, to prove humanity could still be broken. The other wanted to seal Earth off entirely, never to go near it again. Neither side realized they were being listened to, and in the deepest ocean trench on Earth, a low, resonant hum began to pulse, not loud enough to hear on the surface, but deep enough to be felt in the bones of the planet. Whatever had awoken wasn't going back to sleep. Just yet, the first sighting came from a mining convoy in the Outer Rim. 3 cargo haulers were moving slowly through an asteroid belt when there. Long-range scanners picked up a shape behind them. At first, the captain thought it was a pirate vessel, so they sent a standard warning ping. The shape didn't answer, didn't change speed, simply followed, matching their course exactly. After 6 hours, the mining convoy finally cleared. The Belton got a clear visual. The ship following them was enormous, larger than any known cruiser class. Its hull was covered in markings that glowed faintly, patterns that shifted like ripples on water. It had no visible engines, yet it moved without effort. When the captain tried to send another ping, the ship vanished, not jumped, not cloaked, just gone as if it had never existed. The convoy didn't report the sighting at first. In the galaxy, you didn't speak openly about certain things. But the story leaked, and soon others came forward. A patrol near the Kessler Nebula swore they had seen a fleet of 10 massive ships drifting in perfect formation. The hull designs were unfamiliar, their surfaces marked with the same strange glowing lines. The patrol turned to investigate. By the time they reached the coordinates, there was nothing in the Galactic Security Network headquarters. These sightings were dismissed as superstition and misidentification. But in the war archives, analysts were pulling up old sealed files. The descriptions matched something known only to a handful of historians ancient. War fleets from civilizations that no longer existed. Fleets that had disappeared millions of years ago, and now, somehow, they were seen near Earth's borders. In the Rocky Mountain bunker, Commander Kane studied a star map projected above the table. Dr. Marin Holt stood beside him. "They're not hiding anymore," she said. Kane nodded. "They never needed to. The galaxy doesn't believe in them." Marin zoomed the map. Dozens of red marks appeared places where sightings had been reported. They formed a wide arc across the outer systems, all pointing inward toward Sol. "There, moving," Kane said. "Not aimlessly, hurting." Marin's voice was quiet. "Toward us." Kane didn't answer. Far across the galaxy, in the Imperial capital, Admiral Rosen's successor, Velker Drin, was watching a recording from one of the sightings. A massive, starlit ship drifting just beyond sensor range, its patterns glowing. Like constellations. He asked the intelligence officer, "Are we certain these are human?" The officer shifted uncomfortably. "We're certain they're with the humans, that's all." Velkar leaned forward. "And why are they showing themselves now?" The officer didn't respond. On a distant moon in the Kareth system, a salvage. Crews stumbled upon a derelict unlike anything they'd seen before. It was the size of a city, its hull blackened by age but still intact. No airlocks, no windows, no sign of conventional design. When they tried to cut into it, the hull shimmered on, the cutting torch stopped working. All their power systems failed. A single message appeared on every screen in the salvage ship, written in perfect galactic common: "Leave." They left. By the time they returned with an escort fleet, the derelict was gone. In the dark oceans of Earth, the constructs remained still. But Kane knew better. The deep assets didn't need to move to be dangerous. And now, with ancient fleets appearing in the open, he understood what was happening. They weren't just defending Earth anymore. They were preparing for something. And somewhere in the cold void beyond the galactic rim, Those ghost ships gathered in silence, their glowing hulls pulsing like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. The skies over the alien capital turned black. It was not night this darkness moved, shifting like an ocean above the city. Every citizen froze, staring up, hearts pounding. Then they saw the shapes. At first they thought it was a storm. But no storm ever formed perfect lines. No storm moved with such precision. No storm carried the faint glint of metal. The formation stretched so far that even the tallest buildings could not see where it ended. The first sound came a low, deep hum vibrating through the ground. It rattled glass, shook the walls, and sent ripples through cups of water. The air felt heavy, as if the city itself was being pressed under an invisible hand. And then the voices began, not voices in the air, voices inside their minds. Your hunt ends now. Across the city, thousands clutched their heads. The words weren't loud, they weren't shouted, they were calm cold, like a sentence already decided. Some fell to their knees, others ran in panic. The Alien Council's guards tried to contact the defense fleet. But the comms were dead. No signal came through, no warnings were sent, they were cut off, and above, the shapes began to descend. One ship came lower. So close that the people could see the smooth black hole. It had no markings, no windows, no lights. But its presence was suffocating. It was not here to negotiate. It was not here to show mercy. Inside the Alien Council chamber, the Supreme Speaker slammed his claws against the table. We must act. Deploy the planetary shields, now. But the defense minister shook his head, trembling. The shields, they're already down. Something has overridden the systems. They control it. The room fell silent. No one dared to say it out loud, but they all knew who it was. Only one species could strike like this. Only one species would strike like this. Humans. The council had mocked them for years. They called them upstarts, savages, new blood unworthy of the stars. And yet, in less than a decade, humanity had risen from a single planet race to a force that could cripple an entire world in minutes. And now, they were here. A young aide burst into the chamber, panting. Supreme Speaker, we have detected something unusual in the fleet. It's not just warships. There are carriers. And inside, he swallowed hard. Inside our hunting craft. The word made every member freeze. Hunting craft were not used for open war. They were used for pursuit, for tracking, for taking individuals. This is not an invasion, whispered the defense minister. This is a hunt in the streets. Below, people watched in horror as sleek, spear-shaped ships peeled away from the massive formation and flew low over the city. They moved silently, scanning the crowds. A strange blue light swept over buildings, searching for someone or something. An old merchant tried to hide under his stall, but the light stopped on him. The air shimmered, and in an instant, he was going to vanish without a trace. One by one, others disappeared. No blasts, no blood. It's just silence, then nothing. Inside the council chamber, panic turned into rage. We will not be hunted like animals, Supreme Speaker shouted. Activate every ground battery. A target. Their landing craft. But when the gunners tried to fire, nothing happened. The screens flashed a message words written in the alien language, but in the human style, weapons disabled. Do not resist. The council members felt a chill. This was not just technological power. This was control. Humanity was inside their systems, inside their defenses, inside their very city. Suddenly, a sound echoed through the chamber, not through the comms. But from the walls themselves, you took our people. You thought we would not find you. You thought distance would protect you. The voice was human, deep, steady. The words were simple, but they carried the weight of a promise. You were wrong. The lights went out. Outside, the Black Fleet moved in perfect silence. The hunt began. The alien fleet arrived without warning. There was no formal declaration, no demands, no negotiation, just the silent, cold approach of warships across the Black Sea of space. Their formation was perfect, their weapons charged, their path cutting directly toward the system humanity had been guarding in secrecy for years. From the human side, the response was immediate but divided. Some commanders wanted to wait to understand the aliens' intentions. Others knew better. If the enemy reached the station's orbit, it would be too late. Orders clashed, voices rose in the command channels, and tension gripped every soldier in the fleet. The first shot came not from either side, but from deep inside the system. A single, massive energy beam tore through the darkness, striking an alien cruiser and splitting it apart in silence. The alien fleet staggered not from the attack itself, but from the fact that the weapon used was impossible. According to their own records, that kind of energy output could only be achieved by ancient civilizations long extinct. Humanity was not one of them. Now it was too late for peace. The aliens opened fire, and the humans answered in full. In the chaos, both sides realized something terrible: this battle should not have happened. Not here, not now. Larger threat, moving in the shadows, one neither side had seen. And by fighting each other, they were opening the door for it to strike. But neither side would stop, not until one was broken. The dark void of space was silent, but every ship in the human fleet felt the same thing. The hunt was almost over. Across the galaxy, alien warlords who once threatened Earth were now hiding, running, or already dead. For months, humanity had tracked them, system by system, never letting a single one escape. On the bridge of the flagship Iron Resolve, Admiral Kane stood still, watching the holographic map. Red dots flashed across the display, the last confirmed locations of the enemy. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned with the cold fire of purpose. "Bring us in. No survivors." The crew moved with precision. They didn't cheer, didn't smile. This was not a victory celebration. This was the end of a war they didn't start, but they would finish. In the outer rim, far from any trade routes, the last alien stronghold floated in the darkness. It was a fortress built into the remains of a shattered moon, surrounded by defense platforms. The enemy had gathered every remaining ship, hoping to make a final stand. They didn't know the humans were already here. Without warning, the Iron Resolve and its escorts emerged from hyperspace like silent predators.
Oh, really?
The alien commanders shouted orders, scrambling to launch fighters, but it was too late. Human railguns, plasma cannons, and torpedoes lit the void in blinding flashes. Ships that had survived years of war were torn apart in seconds. The alien leader, a warlord named Thrysic, broadcast a desperate message across open channels. "Humans, enough. We will retreat. We'll never approach your worlds again." Admiral Kane listened in silence. Then he gave the order that would seal history: destroy their fleet, erase the threat. The battle lasted less than 15 minutes. When it was over, the fortress was nothing but drifting debris. The last red dot on Kane's map faded away. But as the silence returned, a new transmission came in, not from the enemy, but from deep space. It was a coded human signal, one not used in decades. It carried only 4 words: "The next hunt begins." Kane stared at it for a long moment, then smiled, not in joy, but in grim understanding. The war was over. The hunt would never end.